Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I am Liang Zhang. Let's take a look at today's stories. The FBI is on the lookout for a suspect they call the Green Gaiter Bandit. They said he has robbed over a dozen banks in the last 3 months. A California redwood forest has been returned to a group of native tribes. An organization dedicated to protecting and preserving redwoods purchased the property and donated it to the Tribal Council for conservation. A suspect known as the Green Gaiter Bandit is believed to be involved with over a dozen bank robberies in California. FBI and law enforcement are on the lookout. The suspect enters the banks with his mask and leaves on foot. We hear more from NTD's David Lam.
At least 7 Wells Fargo and 4 Chase banks were among the top targets that have been suspected of being robbed by the Green Gaiter. The FBI announced on Wednesday that they're looking for a male suspect alleged to have robbed or attempted to rob banks in Orange and LA counties since October 2021. The FBI calls him the Green Gaiter Bandit based on his neck covering, which can be seen from surveillance photos. The FBI noted that the suspect wears a variety of gaiters in different colors. He's identified as a 50 to 60-year-old white male, approximately 6 feet tall, with a medium to heavy build and gray hair. He's seen wearing a tan jacket in some of the robberies. The FBI said he wears workwear-style clothing. Over the past 3 months, the bandit is suspected to have targeted 14 banks, including on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, with the most recent on January 21st. The Green Gaiter Bandit typically passes a note, sometimes demanding cash or loose bills from the bank teller. Then he flees on foot. The investigation is being conducted by the FBI and local law enforcement, and they're asking help from the public for more information about the suspect. David Lam, NTD News, California.
The Los Angeles City Council approves a measure to ban new oil and gas wells and phase out existing ones. The measure directs the city's attorney to draft an ordinance, which would block oil and gas drilling in Los Angeles.
O'Farrell?
Aye.
Price?
Aye.
13 ayes. This item is adopted.
The ordinance would also change zoning laws to make drilling illegal and study how to legally phase out existing wells. What's more, the council created a jobs program to transition oil and gas workers to other industries. The decision comes after a decade of complaints from residents about negative health impacts, effects they blame on air pollution from drill sites. Activists say Black and Latino residents are most affected by pollution from the sites. The measure makes Los Angeles the third government entity in the county to approve a ban and phase out of oil and gas. Representatives from oil and gas industry groups oppose the measures. They say the policy raises gas prices, eliminates jobs, and makes the region more dependent on foreign oil. Tesla sped past Wall Street estimates for quarterly revenue, but warned the supply chain issues could continue through this year. Despite the challenges, Tesla delivered a record number of vehicles to customers in the past quarter. Revenue rose to over $17 billion in the fourth quarter, up from $10.7 billion a year earlier.
Tesla sped past Wall Street estimates for quarterly revenue Wednesday, but warned supply chain issues could continue through this year. Despite the challenges, Tesla handed over a record number of vehicles to customers in the last quarter. Revenue rose to $17.72 billion in the fourth quarter from $10.74 billion a year earlier. The electric car maker has not been as affected by a hampered supply chain as other auto competitors have, but in a statement, Tesla said, quote, "Our own factories have been running below capacity for several quarters as supply chain became the main limiting factor, which is likely to continue through 2022. Shares of Tesla fell in extended trading. The company also said on Wednesday that its new factory in Austin has started production of Model Y late last year, with plans to start deliveries to customers after final certification. It said it aims to maximize output from its California factory beyond 600,000 vehicles per year. That goal comes as Tesla, the world's most valuable automaker, faces rising competition from rivals who are set to launch an array of electric cars, from more affordable models to electric pickups.
A man who was shot while trying to help a robbery victim on New Year's Eve has passed away. According to the Contra Costa County Coroner's Office, a 32-year-old man was trying to help a robbery victim at Sun Valley Shopping Center in Concord on New Year's Eve. He succumbed to his injuries Wednesday night. Concord police have arrested a person in connection with the crime. The case is still under investigation. California continues to face devastating wildfires and limits on water use. The state's long-term drought has been drying out the state's budget and residents' patience. A recent campaign is trying to put a new measure on the ballot to address the issue, but the efforts may be evaporating soon. The measure, known as the Water Infrastructure Funding Act of 2022, will require the state allocate about $4 billion per year to expand water supplies. It will involve streamlining new dams and reservoirs and upgrading canals. The initiative needs about 997,000 signatures of registered voters by April 29th to qualify for the November statewide ballot. Campaign organizers say they have gathered less than 100,000 signatures with about 90 days until the deadline. However, environmentalists opposed the campaign. They say the measure would limit the power of state agencies. They also argue that water users should help pay the costs of big projects rather than using the state's general fund. Organizers say to have any chance at adding the measure to the ballot, they must raise $10 million by next month to ramp up efforts and hire paid signature gatherers. As of Wednesday, they have raised $165,000. A United States district judge sentenced a South Korean national who poached the succulent plants to 2 years in a federal prison. He attempted to export $150,000 worth of the plants back to his home country. NTD's Jason Blair has the details.
A man was sentenced to 2 years in prison after being charged with poaching at least $150,000 worth of Dudleya succulent plants. He was attempting to export the plants into South Korea. He was also ordered to pay $3,985 in restitution for the cost of replanting the stolen plants. Byung-Soo Kim obtained the plants from native environments in Northern California state parks in 2018. The plants eventually made it to a commercial exporter in Compton, California to be smuggled to Asia. However, local authorities had obtained a search warrant and found 3,715 illegally obtained Dudleyas. Kim fled the country and eventually was found again in October of 2019 when he was arrested in South Africa. He was similarly collecting controlled plants and attempting to export them to Asia. He was in custody in South Africa for approximately 1 year before he was extradited to the U.S. Dudleyas are slow-growing plants and can sometimes take decades to flower. They typically go for $40 to $50 each and sometimes more. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
San Francisco's mayor announced today that the city is lifting its indoor mask mandate, but the change comes with a catch. Starting February 1st, office workers, gym members, and other stable cohorts of people may remove masks indoor again. The catch is they will need to be up to date on their vaccination, which includes boosters. Additionally, indoor mega events of 500 people can resume with a negative COVID test, but masking will still be required. Over 500 acres of forest land in Northern California has been donated to a group of native tribes this week. The forest was also renamed. NTD's Eileen Ang has more on the story.
An organization called Save the Redwoods League bought a 523-acre forest on the Lost Coast in Mendocino County for $3.55 million in July 2020. They gifted it to the Intertribal Sinkawan Wilderness Council to ensure lasting protection. The forest, formerly known as Andersonia West, is now renamed TCLA Dune, meaning Fish Run Place, in the Sinkawan language. In a statement, a board member of the council said, renaming the property lets people know it's sacred for the native people, and that there was a language and a people who lived there long ago. The coastal forest is home to redwood trees, fish, and wildlife. This is the league's second land donation to the council. In 2012, it gave a 164-acre Four Corners property for conservation. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
Welcome to the NTD News Sports Roundup. I'm Thomas Christian, taking you through the wide world of California athletics. NBA legend Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter, and 7 others were killed in a helicopter crash in Southern California on January 22, 2020, 2 years ago. His sudden death at age 41 touching off an outpouring of grief for a star whose celebrity transcended basketball. The chopper went down in Calabasas, about 30 miles northwest of downtown LA. Authorities confirmed that 9 people died, with no survivors. Bryant, an all-time basketball great who spent his entire 20-year career with the Los Angeles Lakers, was among the victims, along with Bryant's 13-year-old daughter, Gianna. Bryant retired in 2016 as the 3rd leading scorer in NBA history, finishing 2 decades with the Lakers as a prolific scorer with a sublime all-around game and a relentless competitive ethic. Bryant had one of the greatest careers in recent NBA history and became one of the game's most popular players as the face of the 16-time NBA champion Lakers franchise. He was league MVP in 2008 and a 2-time NBA scoring champion, and he earned 12 selections to the NBA's all-defensive teams, famously teaming up with Shaquille O'Neal in a combustible partnership to lead the Lakers to NBA titles in 2000, 2001, and 2002. He later teamed with Pau Gasol to win 2 more titles in 2009 and 2010. Bryant retired in 2016 after scoring 60 points in his final NBA game. Golf's #1 player Jon Rahm said on Tuesday he is eager to return to one of the most successful venues for this week's Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines, where at last year's U.S. Open, the Spaniard secured his first career major triumph. The picturesque venue in San Diego is Rahm's favorite hunting ground, and where he used a red-hot finish last June to secure a one-shot victory and became the first U.S. Open champion from Spain. Rahm has played Torrey Pines so well that in 5 career starts in the Farmers Insurance Open, he owns 4 top 7 results and has never finished outside the top 30. The Spaniard, who secured his first PGA Tour win at the 2017 Farmers Insurance Open, returned to the top of the rankings with his victory at last year's U.S. Open at Torrey Pines and expects a much different course setup this week. Rahm, who lives in Arizona, has often said the weather and coastline at Torrey Pines remind him of Spain, and so it should be no surprise that he makes a point of returning to the course on a regular basis. Rahm had a runner-up finish and share of a 14th place during the PGA Tour's Hawaiian swing this month and will play the first 2 rounds with fellow major champions Justin Thomas and Dustin Johnson. The Farmer Insurance Open is being held Wednesday through Saturday to avoid conflict with the penultimate round of the National Football League's playoffs. And that's all for the NTD News Sports Roundup. I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
And that's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for our show, feel free to let us know. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook. I am Lang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.